Alright, hello everyone. So part 3 now of this video. It's hard to believe that it's been 3 parts. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Indiana Wesleyan in particular. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. So real quick, going over the Massey projection rating in terms of the Crossroads League schools only. Again, this is part of the selection process for a national tournament. Marion is first in the Massey, no surprise there. St. Francis is sixth in the Massey, no surprise there. Spring Arbor is 17th in the Massey, again, no surprise there. Taylor 19th in the Massey, again, really no surprise there. And then Indiana Wesleyan 21st in the Massey in terms of the conference, and Huntington 24th in the Massey rating. So, you know, you look at Huntington right now. Oh, I mean, I already talked about all those teams, so those are an updated view of the Massey ratings as of today, and those Massey ratings update after each and every game, so it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. Now, I did want to go over this video talking about Indiana Wesleyan in particular, because this is a very interesting team this year, and I wanted to take a few seconds and talk more about them. So without further ado, let's do that. So again, Indiana Wesleyan, a team that surprisingly has kind of been struggling this year. And of course, they're coming off of a NAIA National Championship Tournament runners-up last year, falling to the champion Dordt by, I believe it was 9 points. And so now, again, they went 34-3 last year, 16-2 in the conference. Their only losses coming to Marion and St. Francis, so really good losses last year. Now, one thing for the Wildcats this year is, and I've talked about this in my Crossroads League daily game recap videos, this is a Wildcat team, looks way different this year. They're a lot younger, and they're currently 50th in the RPI. And I mentioned at the top of this video, they're currently 21st in the Massey. So again, in terms of the Massey rating, not too bad, but obviously a little there's room to improve there. And then you look at their 20th in the, or 50th in the RPI, and that's kind of at the very top of the page of the paper, being on the bubble, not totally in danger of not making national tournament, but there is a lot more improvement to make, that's for sure. And so as I end this 3-part video, I want to talk more about the Wildcats specifically. Now, in terms of non-conference, they played a really good non-conference schedule. I mean, and really tough as well. Now, you know, they played IU Northwest, a team that's in the CSAC conference, Chicago Collegiate Athletic Conference, and the Red Hawks of IU Northwest last year were the 4 seed, made the national tournament, so a really good game that was scheduled. The Wildcats won that game, I believe, by, it was like 25, I think it was like 34 points. I think it was like 92-58, something like that. So again, a really good quality win for the Wildcats. And then, of course, you know, you had Campbellsville, Bethel, Tennessee, back-to-back games, ranked 2nd and 3rd in the country. Both games were losses. You know, both games, Iowa only scored in the 50s, which is uncharacteristic of them. And then, of course, you know, you look at Indiana Tech, you know, another game where the Wildcats led by 7 at one point, were unable to close it out. And of course, you know, I mean, in terms of, you know, Bethel, Tennessee, Campbellsville, Indiana Tech, really good losses. Really good losses. I know, you know, the result kind of stung a little bit, but really good losses in terms of a national tournament selection, at least as of right now. Now, of course, that was with everybody fully healthy, I might add. 3-3, the Wildcats went with everybody fully healthy. Now, right before conference play started against Goshen at home, the Wildcats had a couple of injuries that has really affected them. Now, granted, have they played really tough despite that? Yes. Now after that, the Wildcats, you know, they had that tough loss at Taylor, a game that the Wildcats were up by 7, I believe, at one point. Again, another game they were unable to close out. Now, had they beaten Taylor, that definitely would have helped them in terms of a national tournament resume. And then, of course, after that, you know, I was the one that said, well, you know, you have St. Francis, then you have Huntington. And I said after that, if you're IWU, you at least want to be 2-2 going into the new year. You need one of those 2 games, whether it be St. Francis or Huntington. More so, you probably need Huntington than you do St. Francis because of how good St. Francis was. You know, and then the Wildcats at home, 21 or 22 point upset win against number 6 St. Francis. excellent quality win. Definitely helps IWU in terms of our national tournament hopes. And then of course you go on the road, you lose to Huntington by 17. Really tough loss. Kind of hurt them in terms of the polls. Kind of hurt them in terms of the RPI ranking. And then of course you go to Florida and you lose by 17 to an unranked St. Thomas team. Really the only bad loss that the Wildcats have had all season. And then the next day, they're able to win by 11 against an extremely good College of the Ozarks team. I talked about them in my last two parts of this video, talking about their hopes for a national tournament. So and so really for IWU, I mean, they've had some, they had an excellent win against St. Francis, no question about it. And then you look into the new year. You host Spring Arbor on Saturday, a very dangerous team, ranked first in the league in defensive turnovers in terms of forcing, 27 turnovers a game, and forced, I might add. And then you come here to Mount Vernon, Ohio next Wednesday. You host Grace next Saturday, and then you have an extremely tough game at Marion. Then you go to Bethel the following Saturday. You have a week off. You go up to Goshen to start the second half of conference. Then you host Taylor at home. Then you go to St. Francis on the road. Then you host Huntington at home. Then you go to Spring Arbor, road game. You host Mount Vernon. You go to Grace. You host Marion. You host Bethel for Senior Day. Then you're looking into the league tournament. How far does this Lady Wildcat team go in the league tournament? We don't know. Now, with all that being said, in my opinion, now the Wildcats right now, in terms of of national tournament selection, I would give them a 9 or a 10 seed right now. 8-6, they're 2-2 in conference. They're still the high name recognition. They're still very talented. They've been lights out at home. Like this year, they are just phenomenal on their home floor. 5-0 on the year, looking to go to 6-0 on Saturday, hoping to go to 1-0 at home in 2026 against a really good Spring Arbor team. Now, the issue for the Wildcats has been on the road. They have really struggled on the road this year, going just 2-5 on the road and 0-2 on the road in league play. Now, in order for them to boost their chances of getting into the national tournament and trying to get up to around that 37 to 40 mark in terms of the RPI, by the time we get into early March, right before selection show Thursday, for the Wildcats to be able to do that, to get up that high, and definitely, if they're able to get up that high, they for sure would be a firm lock in the national tournament. If they're able to get up to roughly around that 37 to 40 mark in the RPI, I think they could easily be high enough to be a 5 or a 6 seed and have a really good chance at hosting at home. They have the facilities to do that. They have not lost a game at home in the opening rounds of a national tournament ever, at least I'm pretty sure, under head coach Ethan Whaley. So again, they have that going for them. Now, is it a tall task getting up that high in the RPI by late February? Yes. Now, another good thing for them is, in terms of a league tournament, they probably more than likely need to win at least the first 2 rounds of a league tournament to really boost their RPI, boost their ARC ranking, boost their quad record ranking. And again, all those 2 rankings are going to come out January 20th. So we're going to see where IWU stands right before the second half of conference play. So it's going to be really fun to see how all that plays out. Now, outside of that, some other things that I think IWU needs to do in order for sure to be a lock in the national tournament, more than likely, most of all, they are going to have to continue to be perfect at home as much as possible. Beat who you're supposed to beat at home. But the other big thing is the Wildcats are going to have to win league games on the road. And I know that's been a really difficult task for them this year, but they are going to have to string some road wins together. And more. And now, obviously, you look at their remaining schedules on the road. They are going to have to beat Mount Vernon Nazarene on the road. They're going to have to beat Bethel and Goshen on the road coming up later this month. They are going to have to beat Grace on the road February 14th. More than likely, they're going to have to beat Spring Arbor on the road Saturday, February 7th. But again, you don't want to look too far into that. You just want to focus on one game at a time. So those are the road games that the Wildcats are going to have to win in order to boost their national tournament resume in terms of the RPI, the ARC, and the quad records. Outside of all of that, They're, in terms of home games, they are going to have to beat Spring Arbor at home Saturday. They'll have to beat Grace at home next Saturday, January 10th. They're going to have to. Now, here's where it really gets kind of interesting. More than likely, they're going to have to beat Taylor at home January 28th, beat Huntington at home February 4th, and then beat Mount Vernon Nazarene at home February 11th, and definitely beat Bethel at home February 21st on Senior Day, the last game of the regular season. Those are all the games, home and away, that the Wildcats are going to have to win in 2026 in order to boost their national tournament resume and help them be more so of at least a firm lock in the national tournament, but definitely be way above the cut line and get themselves into a lot more comfortable position. That is for sure. Now, do I think all that can happen? Absolutely. Again, it's a brand new year. It's a brand new season. You just want to start out, focus on starting out 1-0. That's all you can do. Focus on starting out 1-0. Take it one game at a time. Keep improving one game at a time. Because a lot of teams, in years past, a lot of teams have really found their rhythm as we've headed into late January, February, and March. And now, is this year that the Lady Wildcats of Indiana Wesleyan could do that? Absolutely. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how all that plays out. That is for sure. Now, finally, outside of that, some very, very important games that they are going to have to win. And now you're more than likely they're going to have to pick up at least one game against Marion, whether it be on the road on January 14th, where IWU's a 6-point underdog right now, or beat Marion at home February 18th. They are going to have to get one game against Marion. And ideally, they probably are going to have to try and get the road game at St. Francis on January 31st. That would be another game that would really help them. And then I alluded to all of their home games. So ideally, now in terms of the most simple, most reasonable, logistic of them to do is win out at home. That is the easiest scenario, at least on paper, would be win out at home and try to pick up at least some road wins against teams that you should beat on paper, meaning Mount Vernon, especially Grace, Bethel, Goshen. Bethel, Grace, Mount Vernon, Goshen, Spring Arbor. Those are all games on the road that the Wildcats are for sure going to have to win. And more than likely, they're going to have to win out at home as well. So that would also really, really help them. So that's at least how I see it right now in terms of a national tournament selection. Now, of course, on Monday, I'll be recording videos recapping all the games from Saturday, because there are a lot of important ones. And then recording a separate video on Monday going over the latest RPI rankings and doing an updated national tournament projection just of Crossroads League schools only, in terms of the seeding, of what seed I would have everybody at on this upcoming Monday. So again, make sure that you stay tuned for all of that. So if you did enjoy all three parts of these these videos, please either like, comment, or subscribe. Any one of those options helps me out greatly. I truly would appreciate any feedback that you may provide me. And if you did enjoy me doing these videos, please let me know in the comments. If you want me to keep doing these videos, making these national tournament projections, if it's very helpful to you, make sure that you leave me a comment down below if that's the case, or hit the like button. Any option helps me out greatly. Thanks so much for watching all three of these videos. Have a great rest of your day. Happy New Year, and I will see you back here on Monday. God bless.